Hi, everybody. I think you've listened to a lot of very, very, very valuable information. Because Ira and I worked together for so many years, a lot I'm going to reiterate, but really in a very concise manner. And just going to try and address mainly the adults, less so the children, because that's been very, very eloquently addressed. So I want to just go back briefly to the basic pH, which Ira spoke about. And this relates to me in the sense that I came to Israel almost 36 years ago. So I've lived here, brought up the children through very, very difficult times, as Ira said as well, probably the worst that we've known, sadly, and I'm sad that you all subjected to it, especially our newer people. But hopefully, our country, with its strength and um, positivity, will come back to itself. So, what I wanted to tell you just very briefly is the basic pH was a therapeutic system based on philosophy, based on research, um, developed by Muli Lahad, who lived up in the north near Kiryat Shmona. And there were months on end where in the communities there, people lived in the miklatim and the children lived in the miklatim. So he was able to do some pretty good research and therapeutic work and was able to use that in other places. Um, so um, what I wanted to say is the basic conclusion that Muli came to after years and years, I'm going back to the 80s, is that the majority of people are resilient and strong. Numerous studies show that after critical events, most people are able to regain their equilibrium. And so remember that. Now, as because I'm addressing parents of whatever age, the moment we became parents, we became responsible adults, or we were supposed to. So, and as everybody else has said so far, Ira and Lisa, we are expected to be a role model for our children, also never mind their age, and also be the caregiver for the family. So, in order to do that, in my opinion, one needs to actually face oneself first and be able to, and in a time of stress and crisis, it's more difficult, but what are my thoughts? What am I really thinking, feeling? What are my beliefs? Give them a name and understand them for ourselves, because then we're going to be more understandable to the people that we're taking care of and sharing our lives, our close lives with. So, once we've done that vis-a-vis ourselves, then you engage your spouse, whoever your spouse may be, because if there is a major conflict of thoughts, beliefs, emotions existing between us, we're actually going to exacerbate the tension in the home, the tension in the situation, and we're going to actually lose a strong parental base, which is the family's building block. So obviously, I understand, and we all do, that spouses aren't identical twins, and each person is entitled to have their own thoughts and especially feelings. But as I said, when there are vastly different discrepancies between them, children, and even as I said, I work mainly with teenagers, they become very confused because they don't feel the words that were used before, the concepts contained, comfort. They don't feel that they're in a secure place, because every time that mom says, you know, it's going to be okay, dad starts screaming and says, I'm going to kill all the enemies and da 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 da. And you're entitled to that. But how do you deal with it vis-a-vis yourself and in your parenting? And again, I said it's applicable to teenage kids, because those are the kids I worked with for many, many a year. Okay, so On a practical level, on a very practical level, I think the most important things that we need to do is to face our own selves, our own demons, and try and work that out in a working relationship between ourselves and the parent, the other parent that we're parenting with. Now, I don't know who's listening. I understand that there are obviously people that maybe it's the first time that you've been subjected to this horrible sound of an air raid siren. Others may have experienced it before. However, it's always a very, very eerie sound. And what happens is that we need at that, before this, if possible, is to gain information, to have information. Where do we go to? Where is the safe room? Somebody sent a message. If there's no safe room, can we lie under the bed? This is all valuable, vital, important information so that you're in control of this, of a difficult and abnormal situation, has been mentioned a number of times. How long do you have to access that safe room? If it's in your mamad, Mitsuyan. If it's in the miklat, like I have in my building, I've got to get down the stairs. However, I do know that when I'm going down the stairs, the stairwell, I think it's called, is a safe place. It's pure concrete. So I need to now, we weren't prepared for this because it came as a hangover, what can I call it, an earthquake for all of us. But that safe room are our needs and those of our children's basic needs met. Do we have water in the room? If not a toilet, where can we pee? Whatever we need to do. Um, Basic food stuff. Some people, as I think Lisa said, when they frightened, they can't eat. Everything closes up. Other people just need to nourish all the time. Um, Warm, cold. Maybe you need to keep something because some people get very cold when they stressed. Some people get hot and want to throw off their clothes. But to make this a safe room in terms of our basic needs as well as our safety needs. I'm going to now just mention a few other points because so much has been spoken about and very, very relevant, very important. So let's say that in terms of beliefs, I think Doron opened it with that, and I think Ira mentioned it, that basically this is a Jewish country, and being Jewish is a way of life. It's a people, it's a religion. However we connect to it, whatever gives us strength to believe is useful. And I've received some messages today that they're going to be international Jewish prayer services. If that's important and gives you strength, it'll give your kids strength to listen to it, to participate in it, to record it, whatever is going to. And again, however one wants to believe, I think Ira referred to as sort of a higher being. And even if it's not on a religious level, on a spiritual level, to kind of feel spiritually strengthened and empowered. Then emotions, Lisa mentioned it a lot, that we also are allowed to, as adults, to express our feelings. But hopefully we've got more of it, and she explained it very well, some sort of inner dialogue. Okay, now I'm panicking. Okay, now perhaps I'm exaggerating, and find a way to calm ourselves down, set our own limits, and that's going to help us with our kids. Then, as Lisa said so many times, is that all our reactions are normal. We're not going crazy. Um, it's this too will pass. Give them the feeling a name, label it. I know it's happened to me. I've had a panic attack. I'm having a panic attack. What do I do? The breathing and all this sort of to calm me down. Obviously, I tried not to do it in front of my kids when they were small, but I guess it happened. And don't give false reassurance, not to yourself. No, it's okay. So I'll go into the room a bit later. That's bidyuk when Khalila there's been um, an explosion and people have been injured. But be as realistic as one can. I just want to make one comment. I like what John Milton said. He said, with our thoughts, we can make a heaven or a hell of our lives. Now,
Mm.
before just last
Ah,
that I've found very helpful in my own life and in the work I've done is using mindfulness. It's something that's become very popular. It's a Buddhist philosophy, I think dating back 2000 years. And that means being focused on the present. And what happens when we're in a panic state, we very, very often, what's going to happen? And it's never going to be okay again. And we don't know about the future. We went to sleep on Friday night, hopefully after a Shabbat meal or whatever it was, happily, and woke up on Saturday morning to a wailing siren, to to all hell having broken loose. So we are obligated to live in the present and to make the most. And truly, these aren't just idioms, but a day well lived is going to prepare us for tomorrow, is going to give us the strength to be to cope better tomorrow. Um, the last thing I want to say, and this is also something that I learned actually in my South African days, was crisis intervention theory. Was developed also in the 80s or even before, is that in a time of crisis, loss equals gain. What I mean by loss of security, loss of familiarity, and so on, when we say it equals gain, is that in a time of crisis, our defense mechanisms go down. Our usual coping mechanisms aren't available to us immediately because, as was said, our automatic responses. And once we learn or we cope with a situation, we learn something about ourselves. We gain strengths, we gain coping skills and confidence in ourselves. So, Shia, just better days and comfort, and thank you, everybody.